Imposter syndrome and self-doubt. Why do you experience these things? And there's actually two versions of it, a good one and a bad one. I'm going to break them down for you right here, right now, and give you some practical steps so you can actually start moving forward through these challenges, which are going to show up in your life. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Lewis. I'm a coach. I've coached over 5,500 people. I've run businesses. I've written a book, and I love the topic of helping people find their true self, overcome sabotaging patterns, and create a life that they truly love, a life that inspires them. So this ties directly into that topic. So let me start off. There are two types of imposter syndrome or self-doubt that causes, and there's three main causes to it. So I'm going to break them all down for you. So I'm going to start with the bad one. The bad one comes from you trying to be someone that you're not. So I'm actually going to share my screen. So if you're watching the video, please watch the video. If you're not watching the video, I'll try to guide you through it. I'm showing you right now on the screen my Inspired Life Method. So that's the name of my book. It's my main model. I teach people in my events and my programs. This is pretty much what creates self-doubt. It's directly from this. It's directly from my book, all those things. So the first version of imposter syndrome, which I'll call the bad version, is when you're not being yourself. It's when you don't know your true values. Now, I can give you a spiel on values. I do that pretty much every other podcast that I do. So values are areas of life that fulfill you. It's not things like honesty or loyalty or integrity or control or freedom. Those are behaviors and character traits. Values in my world are soul values. They're things that fulfill you. They fill your heart up. They make you feel inspired. They light your soul on fire type of thing. They're things that intrinsically fulfill you. And the thing is, everyone's unique. But most people, because you don't get taught this shit, right? You get taught it from me. Most people don't know their values. They don't know their true self. So they're trying to be number two of someone else. Whenever you hear the words, you have to, you ought to, you got to, you should, you must, you're supposed to, or some version of those words, someone is projecting their values onto someone else. Now, this often happens from parents, from society, from religion, from social media, from your partners, from your friends, all the above, right? And the thing is, when you actually do that and listen to people's projections and you don't actually honor yourself and you don't be your true self, you end up becoming someone that you're not. So when you feel like an imposter, the bad version of it is you're not being yourself, you're living to someone else's values, and you're creating a life that's not yours. This often ends up as a midlife crisis. When for, let's say, a couple decades of your life, you've been living to other people's projections, trying to be someone that you're not, trying to be number two of someone else, wearing a mask, wearing a persona, all the above. And then you get to a point where you've built the career you were meant to build, but you're supposed to impress mum or impress dad or to make someone else happy besides yourself. You buy the house, you achieve things, or whatever happens. And then you get to a point you're like, is that all there is? I still feel empty. I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I feel like an imposter. I built a life that's not actually mine. Because that's exactly what you've done. You've built a life that's not yours. And I did that for a long time, for anyone that knows my story. So the first version that is bad is you're not being your true self, as if you're pursuing goals that aren't yours. So when I work with clients, the first thing that I do is, who are you authentically? And the word authentic and true self gets used a lot. And I use it a lot as well. I've been using it for probably 7 years now. And it gets used a lot, and people don't really break down what it is. So your authentic self, there's two versions I have, is living out your true values, like being the expression of who you truly are, what actually lights you up, not trying to be someone for someone else. It's being your authentic full self. And the other side is learning to love all parts of who you are. That's where inner work comes into it, which I'm going to break down soon. So to categorize the two types, and then I'll go into what causes them. So first, bad type is you're being someone that you're not. You're pursuing goals that aren't yours. You're trying to impress mum, impress dad, society, religion, whatever it is. Where I would suggest, come back to who you are. What actually lights you up? What fulfills you? What inspires you? What's your life's purpose? That ties into that too. What's your authentic mission and vision for your life, and start moving towards that. That's the first step. The good version of imposter syndrome, I got taught this from a great mentor of mine, follow the fraud. So as long as you are in alignment with who you truly are, your true self, your values, your purpose, your mission, your vision, as long as you're being authentic, and if you're moving towards goals and you're stretching yourself, you can often feel like a fraud or feel like an imposter because you're trying to become someone that you've never been before. It's living life on your edge. It's growing past your point of feeling comfortable. That's what growth is. I'll use an example. I've written a book. If you don't know, it's called The Inspired Life Method. I literally break this down in the book. So go grab a copy. Links down below. It's on Amazon, all the good stuff. Anyways, so when I decided to write this book, I actually wanted to write it 3 years ago. And I started 3 times and gave up 3 times. Because who am I to write a book? I'm only in my 20s. I haven't achieved enough. I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not Tony Robbins. Who am I to write a book? Because this is the thing. You are here, and if you're not seeing my hands right now, it's a bit harder, but you're in a position in life right now. And when you set a goal, that's authentic to yours. There's still a gap between where you are and where you want to get to. And that gap is growth. You're becoming someone you've never been before. So you feel like a bit of an imposter. You feel uncomfortable. You feel like a fraud. Who am I to do this? Will anyone listen to me? Am I worthy of this? La, 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 la. You have all those things come up. And that's good. In that case, follow the fraud. Because some people ask me, like, what should I do? I get it. Probably my most asked questions that I get. And if you listened before, when someone says you have to, you ought to, you got to, you should, you must, someone's projecting onto someone else. So before I answer that question, I say, okay, well, before I can give you some advice of what I would do, what do you want? Because if I was to answer that without any context, I'm going to project onto you my values and what I would think. So what do you want? What's your values? What's your mission? What's your purpose? What do you want for your life? Fantastic. Now, are these actions and these goals going to move you towards those things? Yes, they are. Fantastic. Lean into it then. Keep fucking going. Let's go. That's growth. That's part of the journey. You want to follow the fraud in that situation. But if we come back to, okay, I feel really uncomfortable, I feel like a fraud, I feel like an imposter, and I would say, okay, well, do you actually want to achieve these? And you say, no, I'm just doing this to please my mum. I'd say, fuck that. Fuck that. Get clear on your values. Get clear on your purpose. Get clear on what's authentic to you and go be that version of you. So that comes back to the 2 versions. So bad version of imposter syndrome and feeling like a fraud or self-doubt is that you're not being yourself and you're pursuing goals that aren't yours. The good version of following the fraud is actually growing into the highest version of who you are, the greatest potential of who you are. You're becoming someone you've never become before in the direction of what's meaningful to you. Another live example for me right now. It is January 29th. It's a Wednesday. I've run one event before, but I would say this is my first proper one because I've actually got more structure and intention behind it. I ran one last year just for shits and giggles, and I had like 50 people come, which is cool. But I'm running an event on the weekend. That's the point of the story. I'm running an in-person event in one day. Tickets are sold out. I'm super excited. I want 60 people in the room, so I've sold 70, assuming 10 aren't going to show. So hopefully they don't all show. But anyways, I've got enough of that 70 anyways. Point of the story. I'm running an event on the weekend. Now, it's the first time I'm actually going to sell from stage. Because the last event I ran last year, I didn't really sell anything. I just ran it because I wanted to help people. I didn't have anything to sell. So I was like, you know what, why not? Let's just do it just to help people. But now I actually want to start running, and I am running in-person events to then sell into a 3-day event. So run a 1-person event, add value, be myself, help people, do transformation. We're going to find their purpose and their remove a limiting belief at the event. And then I'm going to invite people to come work with me for 3 days and essentially sell people from stage. I feel a bit of self-doubt. I'm like, fuck. How am I going to do this? Am I worthy of this? Who am I to do this? Are they going to listen? All the things come up. Why? Because I've never fucking done it before. I'm stretching myself. This is actually what inspired this podcast. I was like, what should I do a podcast on? I'm like, what's showing up for me right now? I'm like, fuck. This is showing up for me right now. Let's just talk about this. So this actually inspired this podcast. So the good version of feeling like an imposter or feeling like you're doubting yourself is if you're in alignment and you're actually moving towards things that are actually authentically your goals. Good. Keep rocking and rolling. Keep pushing, baby. You're on the right path. Take a breath in and move towards it. But I want to break it down, so I actually want to give you some practical skills of how you can deal with it in a more practical way. So there's 3 pieces. If you're looking at my screen, this is my Inspired Life Method. So I pretty much touched on the first point, which is coming back to who you truly are. That's your soul's values. That's your soul's purpose. That's your mission and vision, which is authentic based off your purpose and values. I do values first. Then I do your purpose. generally. Sometimes I do purpose first. Then we create your life's mission and vision, which is based off those two things, so they're authentic to who you are. Then from there, we do the inner work, because you will have limiting beliefs, unhealed trauma, emotional, energetic blocks that will sabotage you from doing the work to move towards that mission and vision. That's another point. That's why there's 3 pieces. 1 is self-mastery, come back to who you are. Number 2 is inner work. Number 3 is skills and strategies. Because I take the piss out of my spiritual mates. I'm going to be sharing this line at the event on the weekend. But there's a spectrum. And on this spectrum, one side of the spectrum is your spiritual folk, your spiritual humans. And these spiritual folk, they're levitating, they're meditating, they're saging, they're connecting with themselves, they're connecting with source, they're doing their breath work, they're doing the embodiment work, they're doing the plant medicines. That's your spiritual folk. Now, these people are generally fulfilled, generally happy. They have more love and gratitude and presence for life, most of the time anyways. But more often than not, and I'm in rooms with these motherfuckers, so I see it firsthand, a lot of these spiritual folk are broke as fuck. They haven't done anything. They haven't achieved anything because they're missing the other point, which I'll get to in a moment. And on the other end of this spectrum, so one side, your spiritual folk. On the other side of the spectrum are your hustlers, your grinders, the hustle porn people. Work, 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 grind, grind, grind. Sleep when you're dead. Now, I used to be this person. I was this person for a long time. If you know my story about the gyms, you'll know what that was like. Now, these people, generally, if they have the right skills, which I'm about to touch on, they will, more often than not, have more external achievement, quote, success materialistically speaking, than the spiritual folk. Most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. But these people, the hustle guys, they're generally super unfulfilled. They're always kicking the can down the road. I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when. And their whole identity and fulfillment and love and enjoyment of this life we have is connected and determined on their level of success. But it's a mirage that you never arrive at. Now, I believe in blending those two worlds together. I believe in knowing who you truly are, which is your values, your purpose, your mission, your vision, doing the inner work, which is what I was just talking about, removing limiting beliefs, healing trauma, removing those emotional blocks somatically, energetically, spiritually, all those things. But then I also believe in being fucking practical. Because your spiritual folk that are just trying to manifest a Ferrari in their fucking driveway, but they're not actually taking action. They don't have leads. They don't have sales. They don't have systems. They don't have processes. They don't have a plan. They don't actually take strategic action. I don't give a fuck how spiritual you are. You ain't manifesting shit. Now, there's a part to it, and that's why I say that it's integrating the two worlds. And I think I'm a really good blend of both, because I started on the hustle porn side, work, 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 grind, 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 achieve, 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 really unfulfilled. I owned 3 gyms by the age of 22. But I was very burnt out, unfulfilled, unhappy, closed off heart, all the things. Where now I've gone to the other side, where I've done a lot of plant medicine, a lot of healing, a lot of therapy, a lot of trauma work, limiting belief work. I obviously do that for a business now. That's what I love doing. So I believe in integrating the two worlds together. So if you do all of those things, you will have or be able to overcome your self-doubt and your imposter syndrome. Because again, the bad version is you're just not being yourself, or you've got all these limiting beliefs and all this shit you haven't addressed yet, or you're lacking the skills. So let me piece this down one by one. So first step is not knowing who you are. That's the first piece. Because if you're not being your true self, you're going to feel like an imposter because you're not being your true self. Okay? So know who you truly are, be authentic, know what you truly want. Number 2 is the inner work. That's where your limiting beliefs, your trauma, your emotional blocks, your energetic blocks, all those things come into it. Because, just an example, your limiting beliefs and trauma, you create coping mechanisms off the back end of them. And they become the sabotaging patterns that keep you stuck. That's where you actually know what you want authentically, but you just keep getting in your own way. You keep going to the porn, going to the food, going to scrolling, fighting with your partner, getting triggered in relationships, self-doubting yourself, getting anxious, being a people pleaser, being an overworker. All of those things play out. I see this shit every single day with my clients. That's what I help my clients with. So we want to address that. And then third, we want to have the skills. Because let's pretend that you know who you are authentically. You've done a lot of the inner work. There's always more to do, but you're on your journey. You're doing the inner work. I love that. But what if you're just missing the fucking skills? You just don't know what the fuck you're doing. Because if I tell you right now, go build a business, and you've never run a business before, you have no fucking clue about business, it's very overwhelming. And a confused mind does not take action. Because Tony Robbins uses this example all the time. He's like, I don't give a shit how fired up you are, how great your mindset is. If you're wanting to find a sunset and you're running east, you will never get there. You're doing the wrong skills. It's like if you think losing weight, someone told you when you were younger, eat 5 pizzas a day, that will help you lose weight. It's probably the wrong strategy. It's probably not going to work. So you do need to learn the skills. But if you have the skills without being authentic and without doing the inner work, you'll be the hustle porn people. You'll be the grind, hustle, but very unfulfilled. So that is how self-doubt and imposter syndrome plays out. There's a healthy version, there's an unhealthy version. There's 3 pieces that fall into it. It's knowing your true self, self-mastery, purpose, values, mission, vision. It's doing that inner work, removing limiting beliefs, healing your triggers, healing your wounds, healing your blocks. And then it's also having the skills and taking massive fucking action. You put those 3 pieces together, you will overcome any self-doubt, any imposter syndrome that's unhealthy. It will still show up. Like again, as long as you're living life on your edge, as long as you're living life on your edge and you're growing, you're stretching yourself, you're going to feel it. I feel it right now because I'm about to do something I've never done before. So I practice. There's always the, you get practice in private. So you get rewarded in public for what you practice in private. So I'm practicing right now. This whole last couple of weeks has been practicing my presentation, what I'm going to be teaching, the topics I'm going to be doing, how I'm going to communicate, how I'm going to be vulnerable, all the things. So I'm going to practice as much as I can, but at the end of the day, I'm stepping into the arena that I've never stepped into. So there's a little bit of, bit of edge there, bit of, oh my God, this is edgy for me. Perfect. Follow that edge. Follow the fraud in that case. I hope this helped. I would love to know your thoughts down below. If you got some value, please comment down below. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a review. If you want to work with me, best way you can, grab a copy of my book. Heaps of great stuff in there. It's on Audible, Kindle. There's a hard copy. And if you'd like a free trial of my actual full in-depth coaching, which comes with a one-on-one call with me, there's a link down below for that as well. Completely free for 7 days. And I love you guys. Hope you got value. Please send this to someone as well. If you got value from it, send it to someone that you think would get value from it. I really appreciate you. Have a great day. Speak soon.